LkldNow InView with Andrea Oliver is produced in partnership with Florida Southern College and is sponsored by Bella Visage Medical and Aesthetic Rejuvenation. Thank you for supporting independent local journalism.
When to hold them, when to fold them, when to walk away, maybe even when to run. No, I am not quoting a Kenny Rogers song, but I am talking about your money. And hopefully in a few minutes, we'll be getting some invaluable information as to what to do now to make that moolah, that cheese, serves you in the future. Hi, I'm Andrea Oliver, and this is LkldNow InView. And I'm so excited today to be talking with a woman I've known for many years, a woman who has worn many hats and, just crushing the game. Anyone who knows me know that I can't count past 10, which is why it is important to have people in your life who not only knows how to count, but how to stack it up. Today I'm talking with Lorrie Delk Walker. She is a native Floridian who actually grew up in Ocala.
Yes.
Moved to Lakeland in 1999.
Correct.
And as we said, have worn many hats, including journalist, owner of your own PR firm, and now a financial advisor. Lorrie, well, we're going to talk about those transitions, but I want to start with that vacation. So obviously, the moolah is working for you. And for those who are wondering what moolah is, I think I might be dating myself. Do they even say moolah anymore?
I don't, but you certainly can.
Well, what is the word now? Money?
I just say money.
Just money. All right. So the money is obviously working for you because you just took an amazing trip, and I had the chance to see some pics. So let's start there.
Yeah, well, my husband Michael celebrated his 60th birthday earlier this month, and so I figured we should celebrate it in style. So we went to Idaho because we've driven through there years ago and just loved how beautiful it was and wanted to go back and spend some time. So I surprised him with the trip, and then I surprised him by having his son and daughter-in-law and our grandson that we had not met yet.
Wow.
Fly over from Portland, and his younger son and his girlfriend came over from Kissimmee, and we all convened in Donnelly, Idaho for a week.
Well, it is great when the planning works and there is the money there to get it done and to be able to do the things you really want to do.
We paid cash for the trip. That is my mantra.
Yeah, well, listen, I know that this whole financial investment, financial advice actually came after you came in contact with some information by a man most of us are aware of, Gordon Ramsay. So tell us. Dave Ramsay.
Yeah.
Not Gordon, Dave.
Right.
It's a totally different guy. So tell us a little bit about that. You'd be cooking.
At some point, about 11 years ago, I believe it was, I had had enough. I wanted to take control of my finances. It's very important when you're married that your spouse is on board with you, and I was so fortunate that my husband was willing to make some big, tough changes, and we got our financial house in order. We paid off all of our debt. We had a home that we paid off in 15 years. 5 years of that was like the Dave Ramsay years where we had really put forth a concerted effort. Then we bought another house and paid it off in 2 years, and it's just so empowering to be able to feel like every day you wake up and you're putting your money to work for you instead of you working for your money. And I got very passionate about it.
Well, Dave actually says it, that the paid off home mortgage is the new status symbol.
Right, it replaces the BMW in the driveway as the newest status symbol.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So as you talk with people, is that something that you're telling them, aim for paying off that mortgage?
I do. It's such a good feeling to know that every month your paycheck is all yours. You don't owe any of it to anyone else. And I know the mortgage, that's the biggest expense that you will have in your lifetime likely, although student loan debt is a close second these days, which I'm not a fan of. But yeah, as quickly as you can get there and have all of your money be your money when you get it every week or 2 weeks or month, however often you get paid. I'm a fan of making that happen for yourself.
Well, talk with me a little bit about how you initiate that conversation with someone. Let's just say a young couple comes to see you and say, you know, we want to start a financial portfolio, what is it that you're telling them that they need to have in place to get the thing started, the ball
What I
rolling?
have found is that often people come and say, we're ready to start saving for retirement. But my first question is, what does your debt look like? Because you may believe you're ready to start saving for retirement, but your debt picture tells me something different. And so, although I would love to take the client on and have them invest their money with me right away, it's not the best move for them at that stage. So we have a conversation about the debt.
And so you're saying that paying off the debt is the first place to start?
Yes. If you have debt, if you only have a mortgage, maybe it's not the first place to start. Maybe you can go ahead and start saving for retirement. But if you have tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt and credit card debt, especially when it comes to credit card debt, you're very likely paying more in interest every month than you might expect to gain in returns on retirement investments. And so it's a losing game. You're losing ground every
Well, I
week or
remember
month.
when I found out years ago that I could not just pay the minimum on any debt, that I will be in, my grandchildren will inherit that debt.
A rude awakening,
It was
isn't
a
it?
rude awakening. And so when you approach the conversation of debt, are you telling people, because people come into you, they probably weren't even thinking about starting there. Are you telling them to go aggressively at the debt, take it on wholesale, or pay off something first and then go to the next? Is there a proper way to approach debt?
You know I'm a fan of Dave Ramsey, and so I'm a big fan of his debt snowball approach. And he suggests that you line up your debt from smallest balance to largest balance and tackle them that way. And so as soon as you pay off the balance of a credit card, whatever you were throwing at that card every month now goes to the next item on the list, plus the minimum that you had been paying previously on that card, and you just tackle that one by one. And it takes time. It doesn't always happen quickly, but boy, does it feel good when you finally get it done.
I think it's Dave that says rice and beans, beans and rice.
Yes.
We live in an instant gratification society, Lorrie. You know that. We like to grab the shoe and the clothes and whatever our eyes can see. And so to put the discipline in place where we're going to be not only saying no to ourselves, but tackling big projects that there has to be a plan, so to speak, that you're sharing of how to do this and do it effectively.
And in my mind, it comes down to you have to determine how bad do you want something. If you want to be out of debt more than you want to go on a family vacation every year, you'll do what it takes to get out of debt. And we declined a lot of dinners with friends and a lot of big expensive vacations over the years because we wanted to be debt-free more than we wanted that stuff. And now that stuff comes easily and readily because we were willing to put in the hard work for several years to get the debt squared away.
Lorrie Delk Walker is our guest today, and she's a financial advisor with Florida's oldest financial firm, which is Allen & Company. And we mentioned that you kind of, I don't want to use the word eased into this career after serving in many other areas, including as a journalist. You said you were so inspired that you wanted to inspire others to manage their finances. And so when you think about managing and doing well and prospering, what does it look like for you? Other than, so we know the paying down of the debt, but if someone is going to do well financially, what are some things that they have to have in place?
I think it looks different for different people.
Makes sense.
I don't have children that I'm raising still, so my picture looks different for other people, but ultimately it comes down to what do you want your retirement to look like? And I feel like we all hear too many stories about elderly people choosing between filling prescriptions or purchasing groceries this month, and we don't have to live like that, and you don't require a six-figure income to move that needle for yourself. And so I'm just very interested in showing people how to do that.
Is there a place to start? Like, do you get to say mid-40s and you haven't started and you go, oh Lord, woe is me, I should have done this in my 20s? Is there a proper place to start, and how do you start?
Well, there's a fun saying that goes around in financial advising circles that the best time to start saving for retirement is 20 years ago, and the second best time to start is today.
Is today.
So you just have to figure out where are you and determine that you're going to get started. I don't want to believe that it's ever too late for anybody, but obviously your retirement picture is bound to look a little bit different if you started saving at 21 compared to if you started saving at 51.
Absolutely. Now, the truth is, as you mentioned, we do have different goals along the way. And a young family might be thinking, how do I pay for college for these babies that are running around? Somebody who is in their 50s, 60s and beyond, they might be thinking about downsizing from a bigger home to a smaller home. So along the way, there are different challenges and different changes that are going on in our life, which makes, I believe, or you can tell us, the concept of a portfolio a very different thing from one individual to the next. So if you were to break it down, are there some specific things that need to be in place as you're looking at that financial portfolio?
My desire is to create a financial plan for everyone because everyone's scenario is different. And so I would say, if someone is getting started investing, first we want to look at, do you have an opportunity to save through your employer? Is there a match in place? Let's take advantage of that match because that's free money. Let's look at, what do you think the short-term, mid-term, long-term goals are that you want that money to cover for you down the road, and let's address those things. We have some, thank God for technology.
Yes.
We have some great financial planning software, and so we can enter in a lot of information, numbers, and just the fact that you want to buy a vacation home or you want to take a vacation that costs maybe $10,000 a year every year in retirement. We can account for a lot of those things, and then we go to the portfolio options and look at, okay, based on what you've told me your goals are, these are the investment options that we recommend you put your money in to help you work toward that goal. Now, the compliance department will want me to tell you that none of these investment options are an assurance of profit or a guarantee against loss. We're always making our best, most educated decisions, but the market does what the market does.
Yes.
We just put our educated guesses to work and good research and help you work toward those goals with the best information we have available.
We've been in a tough financial season.
Amen to that.
Yeah, it's sad. And unfortunately for a lot of businesses, in particular small business, they've either had to cut back a lot or fold completely, which has pushed a lot of people into going and dipping into that retirement, which we're told, let this wait, the long term is going to be best. Is long term always best?
Again, it depends on the scenario. Everyone needs to approach retirement investing with the long term in mind because, even if you're in your 40s, you've got 20 or so years of work ahead of you before you can retire. That's a long time. You can weather a lot of storms in that time. And so, yeah, I think often long term is best. But there are investment options for people who have midterm goals too, something that they're working for 5 or 10 years out, say. And that investment portfolio may look different than the one that you're working toward retirement on.
I remember as we were approaching the turn of the century, turn of the millennium, where we were the millennium. So there was a lot of conversation about what was or was not going to happen. And there were some people who were so afraid, they thought of pulling all of their money out of the bank and hiding it under the mattress. We're not there, I don't think, with the global pandemic, but a lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are concerned about what is happening with their investments. Does it even make sense? Can they even read what is going on? What are you saying to those people?
Whether it's a pandemic or a housing bubble burst or buildings being crashed into by airplanes, things happen that affect the market. And if you look at, there are charts that you can view online that show the stock market performance from the Great Depression to today. And if you follow that line, you see lots of ups and downs, but the overall trend is an upward trend. So past performance is never a predictor of future performance. However, we can look at that line and I feel like have a reasonable level of certainty that this still shows you if you invest your money steadily over the course of your working years, chances are you're going to come to the finish line being pleased with your investments.
I know you can't, because you have to carve these programs, Lorrie, for individuals. But somebody is coming out of college, starting their very first full-time job, and they are looking to start that portfolio. Maybe they're going to be having a matching thing with their employer. Are there other retirement funds that they can look at that might be helpful as they, that would be more helpful to somebody who is in their early 20s as opposed to somebody who is
not in their early 20s?
Not in their early 20s. A little bit beyond?
There are lots of options available. You know, there are individual retirement accounts that you can do whether you have an employer plan to participate in or not. And it just always, I feel like I'm avoiding being pinned down, but really until you sit down with that client and find out what their unique needs are, I don't think that there's a blanket statement that says this
is how we help. Okay.
Will fit anyone in their 20s, this will fit anyone in their 40s.
Lorrie Delk Walker is our guest today. She is a financial advisor with Allen & Company. And I guess I'm just going to, without even talking about investments and all those stuff, because some people are going, I can't. Just some safe and sound money management tips. What are your top 5?
Live on less than you earn would be my number 1. If you have,
you're right into my ice cream fund right this minute, but that's what it is.
If you have debt, get it paid off, find a way to get it paid off. Understand that investing that you can invest when times are good and when times are bad. And if you can just identify an amount of money that you're comfortable investing, and if you just do that every month, occasionally reevaluate, maybe you want to bump that amount up a little bit more, it's a good thing, because I think over the course of time you will be able to look back and see, well, when the market was down and when the market was up, I was still investing, and I still am happy with where I am at the finish line.
Are we still telling people 3 months, at least have 3 months salary that you can live on just in case just something catastrophic happen? And how do you go about putting into that particular fund?
Right. The Certified Financial Planner course that I'm taking right now recommends that if you are married and both of you are earning an income, bringing in an income, then 3 months of living expenses probably will suffice. But if you're a single person or if you're the sole breadwinner in your household, then 6 months of income is the goal. But the pandemic kind of threw all of that on its ear a bit.
And I was going to ask about that, because I was going to say, we are definitely in, I don't know if I want to call it a recession. We're in a pandemic. And so what is your takeaway, or what can you say at this point about what people ought to be doing where their money's concerned?
I feel like for me and my household, it has showed me that maybe 6 months isn't enough for us. We all have our own personal comfort level. I tend to lean, I want to stress my plan as much as possible so that if some unforeseen circumstance comes along, then I don't feel like I'm caught off guard. So I'm now working toward a little bit more than 6 months in savings, just because that's what helps me sleep at night. You know, I mean, different strokes for different folks. Some people don't feel like they need that kind of cushion. But for me, I have felt comforted in all these times of uncertainty. Like, that's an area I can control, and so I'm gonna ratchet down some more control on that.
Well, Lorrie, I want to thank you so much for coming and sharing your expertise with us. I'm not quite sure when we're going to be out of the season, but one thing is for absolute sure: whatever you do today to make sure that you're shoring up on the money for tomorrow is always going to be a good plan. I'm Andrea Oliver. This has been LkldNow in View.
LkldNow in View with Andrea Oliver is produced in partnership with Florida Southern College and is sponsored by Bella Visage Medical and Aesthetic Rejuvenation. Thank you for supporting independent local journalism.